We're back.
We're back.
Stephen Thompson's here. Our next subject is payroll tax. President had a strong week out this week.
To give you the landscape, President Obama seems to end this is the fourth quarter. You know, it's like a football game, and you really want to end up. But it seemed like for a long time, basically the landscape was the House Republicans said we're not going to go along with an extension or a payroll tax deduction. And they were going to stop the government. Basically say, you know what, we're not going for this. Big battle in Congress to say, we're not going to support you, no matter what you do. This affects 160 million employees, workers, unemployed folk. And, you know, Obama basically, he rolled the dice. He kind of made a situation where he put them between a rock and a hard place. He wants to make them the big bad wolf.
Well,
they blinked.
He called a bluff.
He called a bluff.
And at the end of this game here, you know what you had to watch?
What?
Are you really going to say these people going to lose their money? See, the Republicans were so out of touch.
Right.
They kept saying $40 a week is not going to make or break anybody.
Well, for a lot of Republicans, they never have to go in the supermarket. They don't understand the price of milk. They don't realize that $40 can be the difference between keeping your lights on and them cutting them off.
Gas.
Gas. Lights, gas. You know,
was it $40 a week or $40 a month?
It was
$40 a month.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that issue became such a rallying point, and that's the key thing I think we're going to talk about. Will this be the turning point in the beginning of his reelection and his new branding, so to speak, that he's going to stand up?
Well, he finally had a chance to watch the Republicans blink. Yeah. Of course, they usually stand strong. And the Senate had 89 people.
Right.
The senators just said, okay, we want this bill to go through.
Well, you got to realize these senators, these Republican senators, they're going back home for Christmas, and they're going to have to look at some of their constituents who, again, we're talking about, that money is going to pay for the light bill, the gas bill.
Without a doubt.
Children need a new pair of something. You know, you have to look at where this country is at in the idea of unemployment and the impact. So in that respect, and there's a little bit of a hub back and forth about the Republicans got a little dissension between each other.
Yes, the dissension is the Tea Party.
Oh.
They're tired of them. They're tired of these freshmen
dictating
policy, holding up blockage here.
Difficult stuff. It's a very powerful situation.
They're getting tired of it. Yeah. They've been tired of it a few months ago. In one of the bills they had, Tea Party showed force. They're not having it anymore.
Well, we're going to see if this begins. Of course, next year's show, we're going to be talking about whether Obama gains steam. You know, really looks at how he can position himself as a person who's basically ready for re-election.
Well, Bernie Sanders, everybody's talking. They're happy at the fact that the Republicans, the Democrats, finally stood up.
Right.
And got some backbone and said,
Harry
you know
Reid,
what?
And we need to.
We're not backing down.
And we're
going to be our way, and we are in the minority.
Right.
See, we didn't do this when we was in the majority.
Right.
For the first time, you stood up and said, listen, there will be a showdown.
Right. Some of the lowest levels of confidence.
Are you aware of what was in the bill that the Republicans really wanted that they didn't talk about? The only thing they framed theirs decent for a good while.
Right.
They said the Democrats only want for 2 months.
Right.
We want to give it to you for a year.
Right.
There was things in that bill that they didn't tell you. They wanted drug testing for people that was on unemployment and public assistance and they wanted drug testing for that. There was a few other things that they wanted in the bill that they didn't talk about. They wanted to reduce the unemployment from 99 down to 59.
Wow.
Didn't tell you that.
Big issue.
Didn't tell you that.
Well, we got to follow this. We're going to be a 2-month extension. Obviously, the show keeps going and talking about the political landscape and how it affects the community. We're talking about in folks' pocket. So we'll wrap up that and go on to the next big thing.
Iraq. We pulled out.
But the problem is... Completely out.
Yes.
Doesn't seem... Unfortunately, what has happened in the sectarian violence, in the issues of... The landscape is such. We have Shiite Muslims, Sunni Muslims, and Kurds. They seem to be setting it off in the sense of, we left, and now bombs are going off. Basically, the individuals involved don't seem to see, getting along too well.
Well, I don't think what they spoke about was Iraq had a great deal of ethnic cleansing.
Right.
And how many people left Iraq?
Right.
They want to come back.
Well, the destabilization, let's face it, when you take troops out from a stabilizing force, and you have a history, remember the Shiites and the Sunnis have been going at each other basically from...
And Saddam was Shiite, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, he was. So, but this goes back a long time.
Predominantly Sunni country.
Sunni country.
Yes.
So what we have is a situation that we have to look at whether it puts President Obama between a rock and a hard place. Does it become so out of control that we have to go back? You know, I know you say
It'll never
happen.
It'll never happen.
It's always difficult because the United States is usually considered the person of the help of the last resort. And can we look at from afar when it becomes so bad, if somebody becomes... So we're going to have to look at that. Obviously, an American population, or at least American people, really don't have any more stomach for any more wars.
They don't. There's not going to happen.
Okay.
They wanted the soldiers out.
Right.
Obama administration did want them to stay, but they wanted the soldiers to be indemnified for all crimes. It was not going to happen.
It's going to be interesting. I have to hold out because I do think if it really goes past a certain line, we're going to have to take some active, some active force. Maybe not the declaration of war.
You'll put a base out there.
Yeah, something to that effect. But
that's not going to happen.
Some international things. So on the international scheme, what else is happening?
Our next subject on the international political landscape will have to be North Korea.
Very, very powerful. The death of Kim Jong-il and his subsequent son taking over as the supreme commander of North Korea. He's junior.
Junior.
Hey, another one comes to the top. So really the issue of course, the relationship with the United States and South Korea being fearful of what does this mean?
Well, let's stop. Let's take it from the top.
Right.
Did you notice the people was crying hysterical?
Right.
Now, this is where sometimes you have to get out of the country.
Right.
To see what we don't hear, the propaganda that we hear over here. North Korea, this tyrant, the names, the adjectives is always called about the father.
Right, the dictator. But people love him.
They loved him to death.
They
was crying hysterical.
Interesting.
This is the man that supposedly starved a couple of million of them, am I correct?
Well, very much so. That was put out as a propaganda. It's not that it wasn't necessarily totally true, but the idea that there was an affection for him.
Yes.
And the issue now of the son having some military, let's say, gratis to be able to run this country.
What is he, 26?
Yeah, about 26. We'll check on that age. But issue is, of course, very young in the scheme of things. Even if he was like 35.
Yeah,
you're
26,
running,
28.
and you are now this individual who we center. I mean, you really have the United States as an enemy. It's a pretty powerful thing to do in your 30s. But you're in the 20s. To try to have, you have all of the elite trying to see whether this person can manage us. So it's going to be very interesting.
He has nuclear capabilities.
Well, that's the issue right now. What is his view, and is he able to politically be sophisticated in managing the relationship with, of course, the United States and then South Korea?
Well, first day it happened.
Right.
The military let off a few bombs to let everybody know.
Just say hello?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Don't think that you can just run up on us because you think we're unstabilized.
Right.
I'm letting you know where we're coming from. Take a few of these here bombs here.
Right.
And let's start the new regime.
Well, it's a very powerful thing. Obviously, on the spot's going to talk about it. We look at from, of course, the international to the local to the national landscape. So we're going to keep on top of that. And I think we're going to have to come back and let people know what is the progress.
We'll give it a month.
Okay.
Let's give it 1 month.
Got to wrap it up.
We'll be back.
Okay.